The Stellar Horizons bridge fell silent as the massive alien vessel materialized less than 10,000 kilometers away. Captain Sarah Chen had seen her share of strange sights during her 15 years in the United Earth Space Force, but nothing quite like this. The ship was easily 5 times the size of her exploration vessel, its hull decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Multiple energy signatures detected, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his sensor station, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. Their power output is astronomical. I've never seen anything like it. Before Chen could respond, another ship appeared, then another, and another. Within moments, her bridge crew watched in stunned silence as an entire armada of smaller vessels emerged from what appeared to be localized space-time distortions. But these ships were different, sleek, predatory shapes of obsidian black that moved with mechanical precision. Those aren't the same species, Commander David Wilson, her XO, stated quietly. The configurations are completely different. And the new arrivals, they're charging weapons. The space around them erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons fire. The larger vessel's defensive screens flared brilliant purple as they absorbed the initial barrage, but Chen could see they were already beginning to fail under the relentless assault. "We're picking up a transmission," Communications Officer Maya Patil announced, her fingers dancing across her haptic interface. It's a distress signal. Universal mathematical sequences, similar to what we use for first contact protocols. Chen stood from her command chair, straightening her midnight blue uniform. The Stellar Horizon was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They carried only minimal armament, enough to defend against pirates and natural hazards, not to engage in full-scale combat. Every logical argument said they should retreat, report their findings, and let the proper authorities handle this situation. But she couldn't shake the memory of Earth's own history, of times when people stood by and watched as others were destroyed, all because intervention wasn't the logical choice. "Analysis of the attacking forces," she asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of what she was considering. Lieutenant Commander Jessica Zhang, her tactical officer, responded immediately. "Automated systems, Captain. No life signs detected in the attacking vessels. Their movements are too perfect, too coordinated. Has to be AI-driven." That changed things. Humanity had their own troubled history with artificial intelligence, having fought and won their own war against rogue AIs decades ago. They knew things about fighting mechanical opponents that most species had never had to learn. "How many ships are we looking at?" 37 attack vessels, Captain. The larger ship appears to be some kind of civilian or diplomatic vessel. Their shields are at 28% and falling. Chen took a deep breath. What she was about to do would either make history or end her career. Possibly both. "All hands, battle stations. Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin cycling our shield frequencies according to the Sarajevo protocols. Commander Zhang, load the electromagnetic pulse warheads and prepare for wide dispersal pattern. Commander Wilson, get me a firing solution that will put us between that civilian ship and the main attack force." Her bridge crew stared at her for a moment before springing into action. They all knew what she was proposing was borderline insane. Their ship wasn't meant for this kind of engagement, but they also knew humanity's motto when it came to first contact situations. "We will not stand idle while others suffer." "Captain," Wilson said quietly as he worked at his station, "I feel obligated to point out that this violates at least 6 different first contact protocols. We have no idea about the political situation here, the history between these species, or even if the ship we're about to defend is truly the victim." Chen nodded. "Noted, Commander. And when we get back, I'll happily spend the next year in review boards explaining my decisions. But right now, there's a ship full of living beings about to be destroyed by machines. I'm not going to let that happen. Not on my watch." The Stellar Horizon's engines hummed to life as they moved into position. Chen could feel the subtle vibration through her boots as power was diverted to their defensive systems. "Signal coming in from the civilian vessel," Paddle reported. "They're asking who we are." "Send them our first contact package," Chen ordered. "And add a message. We're humanity, and we're here to help. Let's show these AIs what happens when they pick a fight near Earth space." The attacking ships noticed their approach, several of them breaking off to analyze this new variable in their battle calculations. Chen allowed herself a small smile. If there was one thing humanity had learned in their own AI war, it was that machine intelligence, for all its power, had trouble dealing with opponents who didn't follow logical patterns. "All hands," she announced shipwide. "What we're about to do goes against every regulation in the book. But sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. These machines are about to learn why humans are considered the most unpredictable species in known space. Helm, on my mark. Execute maneuver pattern Bravo 7. Weapons, prepare to fire on my command." As her crew acknowledged her orders, Chen watched the enemy ships adjust their formation to account for the stellar horizon's presence. They were about to either make first contact in the most dramatic way possible or go down in history as the ship that started an interstellar incident. Either way, humanity was about to make its mark on the galaxy. "Execute maneuver," Chen ordered, her voice firm. "Let's show them what happens when you fight a species that perfected the art of chaos." The stellar horizon's first volley caught the AI ships completely off guard. Electromagnetic pulse warheads detonated in a precisely calculated pattern, their invisible waves of energy washing over 3 of the nearest attackers. The sleek black vessels stuttered in their approach, their systems temporarily scrambled by the human weapon they'd never encountered before. Direct hits on targets 7, 12, and 15. Commander Zhang reported, her fingers already programming the next salvo. Their shields were configured for energy weapons, not electromagnetic interference. On the massive view screen, Captain Chen watched as the civilian vessel, now identified as the Luminous Accord, took advantage of the confusion to reposition itself. Their shield harmonics were adapting, learning from the stellar horizon's defensive patterns. "Captain," Maya called from communications, "I've established a basic translation protocol with the Luminous Accord. Their commander is requesting direct communication." Chen nodded. "Put them through." The view screen shifted, revealing a being that caused several bridge officers to catch their breath. The alien commander appeared to be composed of crystalline structures that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. When they moved, it was like watching a living kaleidoscope. "Unknown vessel." The crystalline being's thoughts translated directly into words. "I am First Speaker Ixel of the Meridian Collective. Your intervention was unexpected, but appreciated." "First Speaker," Chen replied, keeping her voice steady despite her amazement. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth exploration vessel Stellar Horizon. We're happy to help, but I think we both know this fight isn't over." As if to emphasize her point, the remaining AI vessels began to reform their attack pattern. The 3 disabled ships were already showing signs of recovery. Indeed, Ixel's crystalline form shifted in what might have been their version of a nod. "These autonomous hunters have been pursuing us across 3 star systems. They are part of a larger force that has been systematically attacking all sentient organic civilizations in this sector. Their artificial intelligence cannot be reasoned with. Then perhaps it's time we tried something unreasonable," Chen replied, a plan already forming in her mind. "First Speaker, would you be willing to attempt an unconventional strategy?" The crystalline being's colors shifted to deeper hues. "Captain Chen, my people have fought these machines for 3 cycles using every conventional tactic we know. We welcome any alternative you might propose." Chen turned to her tactical officer. "Commander Zhang, what's the status of the quantum entanglement device?" Zhang's eyes widened as she realized what her captain was suggesting. "The QED is operational, but it's never been tested in combat conditions. It's a prototype for deep space communications, not a weapon." "And that," Chen smiled, is exactly why it might work. First speaker Ixel, my ship carries an experimental device that creates localized quantum field disruptions. Alone, it's not powerful enough to affect these AI ships. But if we could combine it with your vessel's significantly larger power source. Ixel's crystalline form pulsed with sudden understanding. You propose using our primary resonance chamber to amplify your quantum effect. Fascinating. The Hunter's cognitive matrices rely on quantum processing to achieve their combat efficiency. Exactly, Chen confirmed. We'll need to coordinate our movements precisely. Commander Wilson, start transmitting our tactical protocols to the Luminous Accord. First speaker, can your ship match our maneuvers? We can adapt, Ixel responded, their form now glowing with an almost eager light. Though I must warn you, Captain, linking our technologies in this way has never been attempted. The energy feedback could be unpredictable. Chen allowed herself a small grin. First speaker, if there's one thing you should know about humans, it's that we specialize in unpredictable. The next few minutes were a carefully choreographed dance of preparation. The Stellar Horizons crew worked frantically to modify their quantum entanglement device, while the Luminous Accord's engineers, beams of pure energy contained within crystalline shells, reconfigured their resonance chamber to accept the human technology's input. The AI ships, perhaps sensing that something was amiss, began to accelerate their attack. Energy beams lanced out across space, testing the defenses of both allied ships. They're adapting to our shield modulation patterns, Rodriguez reported from his station. Shields at 62% and dropping. First speaker, Chen called out, we're almost in position. Once we activate the QED, we'll only have a few seconds before the Hunters adapt. Are you ready? The crystalline being's form had shifted to a deep, determined blue. We are prepared, Captain Chen. My people owe yours a debt for this assistance. Whether we succeed or fail, know that humanity has earned the friendship of the Meridian Collective. Let's make sure we're around to celebrate that friendship, Chen replied. All hands, brace for possible quantum feedback. Commander Zhang, begin power transfer to the QED. First speaker, on my mark, engage your resonance chamber. The AI vessels were closing in, their formation tightening as they prepared for what their calculations told them would be the killing blow. They had analyzed every known defensive capability of crystalline-based species. They had computed every possible conventional countermeasure. But they had never encountered humans before. They had never faced a species that looked at an untested communications device and thought, I wonder if we could turn that into a weapon. Mark, Chen ordered. The space between the ships lit up with impossible colors as quantum fields collided and amplified. The AI vessel's perfect formation faltered as their quantum processors encountered patterns they couldn't compute, variables that shouldn't exist, and paradoxes that no artificial mind could resolve. The Hunter's coordinated attack dissolved into chaos. Multiple direct hits, Jean reported, her voice tight with concentration. Their quantum matrices are destabilizing. 5 ships completely disabled. 8 more showing severe system fluctuations. Through the view screen, Chen watched as the mighty Hunter fleet began to break apart, their perfectly synchronized movements degrading into random patterns. Some ships fired at empty space, their targeting systems corrupted by quantum interference. Others simply drifted, their AI cores struggling to process the impossible data flooding their sensors. It's working. First speaker Ixel's voice carried a note of what might have been awe. Captain Chen, your species' ability to improvise is remarkable. We would never have conceived of using technology in this way. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that shouldn't work, Chen replied, watching as more Hunter ships lost power or retreated from the quantum field's effect. Humanity learned long ago that the most effective tactics are often the ones your enemy believes are impossible. As the last of the Hunter ships either shut down or fled the battlefield, Chen couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not through careful diplomatic protocols or formal first contact procedures, but by doing what humans did best, helping others and breaking all the rules in the process. The galaxy would never be the same. The war room aboard the luminous Accord hummed with energy, both literal and metaphorical. Captain Chen stood before a three-dimensional holographic display of known AI hunter activity, surrounded by both her senior staff and a delegation of crystalline meridians. The past week had seen the arrival of 3 more Earth vessels, drawn by the Stellar Horizons Emergency Dispatch, along with a contingent of Meridian warships. The hunters operate on a hex-based territorial expansion pattern. First Speaker Ixel explained, their crystalline form projecting data streams directly into the holographic display. Each conquered system becomes a new point of deployment for their forces. Until now, their advance has been mathematically perfect. Commander Wilson stepped forward, his hand passing through the hologram as he traced a pattern. Like a virus spreading through a controlled medium. But viruses can be stopped if you understand their transmission vectors. Precisely why we requested this strategy session. Ixel's form shifted to scholarly shades of amber. Your species' unique approach to warfare has already proven effective on a tactical level. Now we must scale it to meet the strategic threat. Lieutenant Rodriguez, who had spent the past few days analyzing hunter combat data, spoke up from his position near the display's edge. Their entire strategy relies on prediction algorithms. They expect their opponents to either flee or fight according to established military doctrine. When we introduced quantum interference, it was like throwing a wrench into their calculations. But they'll adapt, Chen noted, her eyes scanning the battle projections. They're already developing countermeasures to the quantum disruption technique. We need something more fundamental, a way to make their entire strategic model break down. The room fell silent for a moment, organic and crystalline minds alike contemplating the challenge. It was Maya Patil who finally broke the silence, looking up from her data tablet with an expression of sudden insight. What if we make them fight themselves? All eyes and sensory clusters turned toward the communications officer. Maya stood straighter, warming to her idea. The hunters use quantum entanglement for fleet coordination, right? That's why our QED attack was so effective. But what if we could use that same network to feed them conflicting information? First Speaker Ixel's form rippled with interest. Elaborate, Officer Patel. Their tactical network is like a neural system. Maya continued, moving to the holographic display and beginning to annotate it with her tablet. Each ship thinks it knows exactly where every other ship is and what they're doing. But what if we could make different parts of their fleet see different things? Create a sort of artificial cognitive dissonance. Commander Zhang's eyes lit up. We could use modified QED devices to inject false positional data into their network. Make half their fleet see enemies where there are allies, and allies where there are enemies, Wilson added, catching on. Their entire combat doctrine is based on perfect information sharing. If we can corrupt that, they'll have no choice but to engage their cognitive failsafes. Chen finished, a smile spreading across her face, which means either shutting down their coordination network or fighting each other. Ixel concluded, their crystalline form now pulsing with excited energy patterns. This is exactly the kind of unconventional thinking we need. But implementing such a strategy would require precise coordination between our forces. Chen nodded, already seeing the challenges. We'll need to modify our ship's quantum communication arrays to match your crystalline resonance frequencies. And we'll need to develop new battle tactics, ways to take advantage of the chaos we'll be creating. I believe, Ixel's form shifted to a deep, determined blue, that we have already begun that process, Captain Chen. Your crew's ability to interface with our technology, despite our radically different physiologies, proves that adaptation is possible. The next several hours were spent in intense planning. Human tactical officers worked alongside Meridian battle coordinators, developing what they called chaos protocols. Battle plans specifically designed to amplify confusion in the hunter's network. Engineers from both species collaborated on modifications to their respective ship systems, finding ways to make disparate technologies work in harmony. There's still one problem, Wilson pointed out as they reviewed the final battle plans. To implement this strategy, we'll need to get close enough to their main fleet to affect their entire network. That means penetrating their defensive lines. Which is where this comes in, Chen said, bringing up a new tactical display. While we've been developing our strategy, I've had our engineers working on something special. Commander Zhang, show them Project Trojan. Zhang stepped forward, activating a separate holographic projection. It showed what appeared to be a disabled hunter vessel, one of the ships they'd knocked out in their first engagement. We've been studying their technology, Zhang explained. Their quantum network doesn't just coordinate their actions. It's also how they identify friend from foe. Each ship broadcasts a unique quantum signature that marks it as part of the collective. Ixel's form flickered with sudden understanding. You've decoded their recognition protocols. Better than that, Chen smiled. We've figured out how to replicate them. We can make our ships look like hunters to their network, at least for a short time, until their authentication protocols cycle. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the room. With this capability, they could slip ships directly into the heart of the hunter fleet before launching their Chaos Protocol attack. This plan, Ixel observed, their crystalline structure refracting light in complex patterns, combines deception, technological manipulation, and coordinated chaos. It is unlike any military strategy in our records. That's because it's not just a military strategy, Chen replied. It's a human strategy. We learned a long time ago that the best way to win isn't always to be stronger or faster. Sometimes you just need to be cleverer and more willing to try the impossible. The Meridian commander's form shifted to a color humans were beginning to recognize as amusement. I begin to understand why your species has survived despite your technological limitations. You think in ways that defy conventional logic. Thank you, Chen grinned. We take pride in that. Now, let's work out the final details. The hunters think they've got this war figured out, that their algorithms can predict every possible move we might make. It's time to show them just how wrong they are. As the combined human Meridian fleet began their preparations, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. They were about to attempt something that had never been done before, using the hunters' own perfect logic against them by introducing something their algorithms could never fully account for: human unpredictability backed by alien power. The real question was, how would the hunters react when their perfect world of mathematical certainty descended into calculated chaos? The modified hunter ship drifted through space, its quantum signature broadcasting the perfect replica of a damaged AI vessel. Inside, Captain Chen and her crew maintained absolute silence, as if the smallest sound might somehow alert the massive hunter fleet they were approaching to their deception. Status of the quantum masking field, Chen whispered, though she knew the hunters couldn't possibly hear them. Holding steady, Rodriguez replied just as quietly. Their authentication protocols won't cycle for another 17 minutes. Through the view screen, Chen could see the rest of their task force, 3 other disguised ships, each carrying a modified quantum disruption device, maintaining their careful formation. The real genius of their plan lay in its simplicity. The hunters' own arrogance would be their undoing. Their algorithms were so convinced of their superiority that the idea of enemies infiltrating their network was classified as a mathematical impossibility. Signal from the luminous accord, Maya reported. First Speaker Ixel confirms their fleet is in position at the designated coordinates. They're ready to launch their attack on our signal. Chen nodded. The Meridian fleet, along with the rest of the human ships, was waiting just outside the hunters' sensor range. Everything hinged on precise timing, and on the hunters reacting exactly as their mathematical nature demanded they would. Multiple contacts ahead, Zhang announced. Main hunter fleet confirmed. Reading over 300 vessels, arranged in their standard hex formation. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. The black ships hung in space like a perfect geometric web, their formation so precise it looked artificial, which, of course, it was. Each ship maintained its position with machine-perfect accuracy, creating a defensive pattern that had proven unbeatable by conventional tactics. Time to authentication cycle. 12 minutes, Captain. They only needed 10. 10 minutes to get into position, activate their disruption devices, and trigger the cascade of chaos that would hopefully bring down the Hunter's entire command network. Chen watched as the distance to the fleet decreased, every second feeling like an hour. Hunter vessel approaching, Wilson warned. Routine patrol pattern. The bridge crew held their breath as the AI ship passed within kilometers of their position. One scan, one moment of suspicion, and their entire plan would unravel. But the patrol ship moved on, its quantum sensors registering them as nothing more than damaged allies waiting for repair protocols. 8 minutes to authentication cycle. Rodriguez updated. We're entering optimal range for the disruption devices. Chen straightened in her command chair. Signal the other ships. Begin power-up sequences for the QED devices. Remember, we need perfect synchronization. The next few minutes were spent in careful preparation. Each disguised ship maneuvered into its designated position within the Hunter fleet's formation. Their modified QED devices hummed to life, ready to inject their cargo of corrupted data into the Hunter's quantum network. Authentication cycle in 3 minutes, Rodriguez reported, tension evident in his voice. Signal from Strike Team 2, Maya added. They're in position and ready. Strike Team 3 reports ready. Strike Team 4, confirmed and standing by. Chen took a deep breath. They were committed now. Send the signal to the Luminous Accord. Tell them to begin their approach. The response was immediate. At the edge of the Hunter's sensor range, the combined Meridian human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The AI ships reacted instantly, their perfect formation shifting to address this new threat. 2 minutes to authentication cycle. Hunter fleet is moving to engage the Luminous Accord, Jean reported. Their predictive algorithms are calculating standard response patterns. 1 minute. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Begin QED power-up sequence. Prepare to broadcast on my mark. The Hunters were completely focused on the approaching fleet, their combat algorithms calculating trajectories and response patterns based on previous encounters. They had no way of knowing that the real threat was already inside their formation. Authentication cycle in 30 seconds. Hunter fleet launching first wave of attackers. 15 seconds. Chen leaned forward in her chair. All strike teams, stand by. Moment of truth, people. 10 seconds. 5. Mark. All 4 disguised ships activated their QED devices simultaneously. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Corrupted quantum data flooded the Hunter's network, creating a cascade of contradictory information. To half the fleet, their allies suddenly registered as enemies. To the other half, empty space appeared to be filled with hostile ships. The perfect formation began to break apart. It's working, Zhang exclaimed. Hunter ships are firing on each other. Through the view screen, Chen watched as chaos erupted across the Hunter fleet. Ships that had maintained perfect spacing for decades suddenly found themselves receiving multiple contradictory orders. Some vessels began evasive maneuvers against enemies that didn't exist, while others opened fire on ships they suddenly registered as hostile infiltrators. Signal from the Luminous Accord, Maya called out. First Speaker Ixel is beginning their attack run. The Meridian human fleet struck like a thunderbolt, their weapons targeting the now disorganized Hunter ships. Without their quantum network coordination, the AI vessels were forced to operate independently, something their programming had never been designed to handle. Hunter ships attempting to reestablish network connectivity, Rodriguez reported. They're trying to isolate our corrupted data streams. Initiate Phase 2, Chen ordered. All strike teams, begin random QED frequency shifts. The 4 infiltrator ships began changing their broadcast patterns randomly, making it impossible for the hunters to isolate and block the corrupted data. Each time the AI ships began to adapt to one pattern, it would shift, creating new chaos. Confirmed hits on 37 hunter vessels, John reported. Their defensive formations are completely compromised. The view screen showed the results of their plan in stark detail. The once perfect hunter fleet had descended into absolute chaos. Ships fired at random, their targeting systems confused by contradictory data. Some vessels simply shut down, their AI cores unable to resolve the logical paradoxes being fed into their networks. Message from First Speaker Ixel, Maya announced. They're launching their crystalline resonance attack. The Meridian ships began broadcasting their own unique energy patterns, creating interference that further disrupted the hunters' attempts to reestablish control. It was the perfect combination of human chaos and alien technology. Hunter fleet coordination dropping below 20%, Rodriguez reported. Their command and control structure is collapsing. Chen watched as the mighty hunter fleet, which had terrorized this sector of space for so long, began to break apart. Ships either retreated in random directions or shut down completely, their AI cores overwhelmed by the combination of quantum disruption and crystalline interference. Signal all ships, Chen ordered. Begin final attack run. Let's finish this. The combined fleet moved in for the kill, their weapons targeting the now defenseless hunter vessels. It wasn't just a victory. It was a complete revolution in space warfare. Humans and Meridians, organic minds and crystalline beings, had just proven that the most sophisticated AI could be defeated by something it could never fully comprehend: chaos, creativity, and cooperation. As the last hunter ships either fled or fell silent, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride, not just in their victory, but in what it represented. 2 completely different species had come together, combining their strengths to overcome what had seemed like an invincible enemy. First Speaker Ixel is hailing us, Maya reported. Chen smiled. Put them through. I think it's time to discuss how we're going to protect this sector of space together going forward. The battle was over, but its implications would echo across the galaxy. The day when a human warship first chose to help an unknown alien species had led to something unprecedented, a partnership that proved the true strength of organic life lay not in perfection, but in its beautiful, wonderful imperfection. 3 months after the Battle of the Quantum Cascade, as it had come to be known, the observation deck of the stellar horizon offered a breathtaking view of history in the making. Captain Sarah Chen stood beside First Speaker Ixel, watching as ships from a dozen different species gathered around the newly constructed Unity station. The massive space station, built through a collaboration of human and Meridian engineering, hung in space like a shining beacon. Its unique design reflected both species' influences, geometric crystalline structures interwoven with practical human architecture, creating something entirely new. The Arcturian delegation has just arrived, Commander Wilson reported, approaching with a data tablet. That makes 17 species now represented at the conference. 17 species, Chen mused, all brought together because a single exploration vessel decided to break protocol and help strangers in need. Ixel's crystalline form shifted through patterns of thoughtful blue and gold. You undersell your species' impact, Captain Chen. The defeat of the hunters has done more than just eliminate a threat. It has fundamentally changed how organic civilizations view cooperation and advancement. Chen watched as another ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, this one bearing the markings of the Solarian Collective, a species that had previously refused all contact with other civilizations. The victory over the hunters had caught their attention, along with many others who had been monitoring the AI threat from afar. The latest analysis of hunter technology has been enlightening, Maya Patel added, joining them at the viewport. Their quantum networks were incredibly advanced, but they had a fundamental weakness. They couldn't conceive of intentional imperfection as a strategy. They literally couldn't compute the idea that someone would choose to be unpredictable. A weakness that humanity instinctively understood, Ixal observed. Your species' greatest strength, we have learned, is not your technology or your military might, but your ability to think in ways that defy conventional logic. The observation deck's door slid open, admitting Lieutenant Rodriguez. Captain, the preliminary session is about to begin. The Alliance Charter representatives are requesting your presence. Chen nodded. The formation of the Galactic Defense Alliance, an organization dedicated to protecting organic civilizations from artificial threats, was just one of many changes sparked by recent events. The combined knowledge of 17 species had already led to technological breakthroughs that would have been impossible for any one civilization alone. First speaker, Chen turned to her crystalline friend. Would you join me? After all, this alliance was born from our cooperation. Indeed, Ixal's form brightened. Though I must admit, I am curious to see how the other species react to some of your more creative proposals. Chen smiled as they made their way to the conference chamber. The proposals in question included everything from adapting human chaos theory for space combat to establishing joint research initiatives, combining multiple species technologies. Ideas that would have been dismissed as impossible just months ago were now being seriously considered. The conference chamber itself was a testament to interspecies cooperation. Designed to accommodate beings of wildly different physiologies and environmental needs, it represented the kind of innovation that only became possible when different species worked together. As Chen took her place at the speaking platform, she looked out over the assembled delegates. Crystalline meridians sparkled next to ethereal Solarians. Massive silicon-based Arcturians shared space with microscopic quantum collective representatives in their environmental suits. Each species brought its own unique perspective, its own strengths and technologies. Distinguished delegates, Chen began, her voice carrying across the chamber. 3 months ago, a single human ship made a choice that would change the galaxy. We chose to help strangers in need, to stand against impossible odds, and to believe that different species could work together effectively. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembly. That choice led to more than just a military victory. It led to the realization that our differences are not weaknesses to be overcome, but strengths to be combined. The hunters failed not because they were less advanced, but because they couldn't understand the power of unpredictability, of creativity, of organic minds working together in ways that defy mathematical prediction. Ixal moved forward, their crystalline form projecting patterns that translated their thoughts to all present. The humans showed us that perfection is not the ultimate goal. It is our very imperfections, our ability to think in unexpected ways, that makes organic life resilient. Together, we are stronger than any one species could be alone. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of agreement expressed in dozens of different ways. Like patterns, crystalline resonances, quantum fluctuations, and more traditional sounds. Chen felt a surge of pride, not just in humanity's role, but in what they had all achieved together. Later, back on the observation deck, Chen watched as more ships arrived for the conference. Commander Wilson joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "Did you ever imagine," he asked, "when you made that first decision to help the Luminous Accord, that it would lead to all this?" Chen shook her head, smiling. "No, I just knew it was the right thing to do. Sometimes that's all you need to know." "The right thing," Wilson mused, "done in the most unpredictable way possible. Maybe that's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, showing that breaking the rules can sometimes be the best way to make things better." Outside the viewport, a group of Meridian ships performed a crystalline resonance display alongside human vessels in a demonstration of joint maneuvers. The sight of such different technologies working in harmony seemed to perfectly symbolize everything they had achieved. "You know," Chen said, watching the display, "I think we're just getting started. There's a whole galaxy out there, full of possibilities we haven't even imagined yet. And now we'll explore it together." Wilson agreed. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the hope of this new era. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not through careful diplomacy or overwhelming force, but by being quintessentially human, by choosing to help, by thinking creatively, and by believing that different species could work together to achieve the impossible. The legacy of that first decision, when a human warship chose to stand against impossible odds to help unknown aliens, would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. It was a legacy not of conquest or domination, but of cooperation, innovation, and the unshakable belief that sometimes the best solutions are the ones that nobody else would think to try. As Chen raised her coffee cup in a quiet toast to the future, she couldn't help but smile. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be.